You're listening to Season 2 of Beyond Insights, your go-to podcast for all things accounting, business, and technology.
Unsure how to improve your leadership skills, or whether you're suited to being a leader to begin with? Looking for ways to build a stronger team or take better risks? Then stay tuned.
From cybersecurity, blockchain, and AI innovations to sustainability, employee retention, and work-life balance, we've got you covered.
We speak to knowledgeable and insightful guests from varied backgrounds, industries, and locations from all around the globe.
From this multiplicity of thought, we strive to find solutions to our most urgent business problems.
Whether you're a small business owner, an accountant, entrepreneur, or even a young professional looking to progress, this podcast is for you.
Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive right in and go beyond insights. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond Insights. Today we're speaking to Chris Giannopoulos, a product engineer at Syft Analytics, about his experience of moving from data science to working in the product team at an accounting software company. So really interesting. Hope you guys get a lot out of it. So welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here. Glad to share a bit of my insights and excited.
Awesome. So to get started, how about you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up at Syft?
Cool. So to start with myself and my background, so born in Johannesburg, I then studied at UCT. I ended up studying data science analytics. That is what I finished studying after I started actually in actuarial science. Didn't last long. I realized that data science was probably a better fit for me.
Cool.
So finished my studying at UCT in data science, and then out of university got the job at Syft. That's pretty much everything.
Very, very cool. And what drew you to data science? And you say you was better than actuarial science for you. What would made it interesting? I know it's a very topical thing. Everyone's data science, data science.
So it was through studying actuarial science that I ended up in data science, because the business science degree at UCT, I feel like, is a really nice mix of commerce, and when you go into things like the actuarial science, but especially the data science degree that we did there, it's a really nice mix of commerce, accounting, business, economics, as well as a lot of coding and computer science experience. Okay. And I actually realized in my first year, a lot of the modules we had to do with like ComSci and all the intro stuff really appealed to me. I was one of those people where I was doing extra tasks when we were given weekly assignments and such. And so I realized I actually enjoyed that side of things a lot more than I thought I would. And so at the end of my first year of actuarial science, I thought, let me pivot into something that actually has a bit more of a blend of this computer science aspect. And I mean, growing up, I was always very techie, and I played video games, and I was into computers. So it was a really nice blend once I'd actually started the data science degree of, I get to do a lot of commerce and accounting, which I was always interested in and good in high school at, but also this other side of things that you don't really get exposed to in high school unless you took something like IT, which I did not. So.
No, I think it's a good shout out that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do, because often that's hard to decide.
Yes.
But you can kind of shift as well. So yeah, very cool. So if someone is debating studying data science, what do you think that they should know before applying? And who do you think the program or subject is actually suited to?
Yeah, so I think obviously very topical. There's so much data in the world to be analyzing. And I think because there's so many different ways you can go about a data science degree nowadays, as I said, I did it through UCT, through the commerce faculty, which was a really nice mix of accounting and business and computer science. But for anyone also doing pure computer science, it appeals to very analytical people, which I think I would definitely categorize myself as. But it's also a really big space for creativity where, again, coding is kind of a form of art. And through data science, you're not necessarily doing web development, but you are doing a lot of different coding. And you look at how you're going to construct your algorithms, think about your studies, think about the models you're going to create. So definitely someone who tech interested is looking into some kind of computer science degree, and maybe if they want to do something that's not necessarily web coding and you want to dive a bit deeper into the data, data science is really cool. So I would definitely say tech-minded, maybe a little bit of creativity, and also has really nice crossover with all aspects of business. I mean, ecological, traditional sciences, commerce as well. So I feel like it puts you in a very good position for a lot of places.
It sounds like a lot of thinking. So I'm not a data science, studied accounting, but for me, it's kind of like every business, like business needs accounting, and it's kind of like data is everywhere. Every business or organization has it. So if you love a specific industry, you can apply it to that. Or if you love software or creativity or whatever. So yeah, sounds like a very cool opportunity. And then obviously now maybe you've decided you want to go study data science. What opportunities or careers could you expect to have?
Yeah. So I think the most typical career that you could expect for someone who has been studying data science is probably a data analyst, or there's so much data to do so many different projects on. I mean, I think of some of my classmates that I got along very well with, and they've gone on to do things like data analyst jobs at Standard Bank. They've gone on to non-profits to help look at their data, see how they can improve their operations, building dashboards for in-house teams or out-of-house teams. Very also common to go into things like investment banks or some of the big firms in more data analytics positions. So again, as you say, because data is kind of everywhere, it does open up a lot of opportunities in various different businesses and in non-profits and just anywhere where analytics and ways to streamline potential processes or understand exactly what that business is doing. So yeah, data analysts.
Lots of jobs.
Lots of jobs.
It sounds like there's lots of job opportunities, but it's also not like very structured. So there's lots of different things you can do, which can also be challenging to decide. But yeah, I think what you made an important point there, it's all about like analyzing data to make decisions, right? Which is what we're also passionate about here. So I suppose you study data science, but moving to your new role. So you move from data science to product engineering, which is what you do now. So was this a natural transition, or was there any challenges or anything with this transition?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty natural transition. Again, data science prepares you for dealing with lots of data. What you can actually get from those insights and what the whole point of you using the data to figure something out. And it's very similar in terms of product engineering, kind of developing a product that lots of customers and users are going to use. Mm-hmm. You have so much data, you have so many reference points to discuss and to talk to customers about what they think, but structuring that and kind of actually getting the underlying through line of, okay, what should we be focusing on? What is worth investigating? How are we going to improve our processes? So for me, I found it was a very natural progression almost. Also because when it comes to the very baseline skills that you would kind of need, like things like problem solving, critical thinking, that's something that data science equips you with very well. And it's something that engineering, and especially like product engineering and coming up with ideas and looking at existing solutions and seeing how we can improve those, that base level of problem solving and critical thinking can be applied to anything really. So I think those fundamental skills that a data science or really a lot of different degrees or courses would equip you with carry over really nicely to this.
Okay, yeah, it's all about, you've learned how to analyze the data and like suggest things. And so now we're doing the same thing with building, hopefully, a very awesome tool.
We think it's pretty good.
Not biased at all. So I think you've already touched on this, but like anything else in terms of how your understanding of data science helped you move into this more engineering focused role?
Yeah, I don't think I have too much to add. I think in general data science, the points that I've already laid out would equip you really nicely for this kind of role. My specific experience, because my degree was very much comp-sci and a lot of commerce, as I've said a couple times now, but it made it very easy for this specific role at Syft, where we are a accounting software or a reporting software company. So it made it really easy to slot into this particular role because I had a very good understanding of, okay, well, the people using our software, this is why they're using it. I had a good understanding of accounting, I had a good understanding of business and that comp-sci background. So it was a really nice blend of both of those two, being able to understand, okay, this is how you build the tool and why we should build the tool, but also this is what people are going to use it for. And so having the understanding of both of those parts, I think really helped.
No, I think that's definitely important. And of course, accounting is very important. And I'll always go with that. So obviously, you've spoken about the things that were easy to transition. Was there anything surprising that you found when you became a product engineer?
I think the most surprising parts about this particular role was just how much data and insights are out there. I think, as we make a point, businesses have so much data to deal with, and it's hard to really actually form that into analytical oversight, which is the whole point of data science, and getting a first-hand experience of that and why a tool like Syft would be so useful to actually helping condense all of this extensive financial data into something that can actually be used day to day. That was surprising to me because you just don't realize the magnitudes of like global business and how much stuff that even an entrepreneurial day-to-day business person has to deal with until you're actually dealing with it and helping customers use Syft to reach their goals. So for me, it was just the magnitude of like global business, whether it is massive multinationals or like an everyday SME kind of operation.
I think I'm going to just elaborate on that as well, because there's all this data and as in data science, you've kind of learned the power of that data, right? But often as a business owner, businesses don't know the power in their data. They're like, we do transactions and the power is that I've made money or I've paid expenses. But actually that analytics side that you studied can really help them make good decisions. So yeah, that's good for business owners to remember, you know?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's jump on a bit more to what your job actually is. So what's a typical day like for you as a product engineer at Syft? Do you have a routine that keeps things running smoothly?
So there's a very general routine. I think one of the things that I most enjoy about my day-to-day role here at Syft is that it is very dynamic in the truest sense, in that I don't have a lot of very set expectations, but it's a lot of ad hoc, helping the different teams. And because you obviously need to know the product very well in order to build the future of the product, it puts you in a really nice place to be kind of a jack of all trades across many different things, which I enjoy. It keeps things fresh. I might have a rough idea of, okay, these are the 2 main tasks I want to complete throughout the day, which will be things like helping design new products and new features, getting feedback from customers on existing features and where we can improve that. Those are 2 of like the most structured aspects, as well as testing and quality assurance and making sure that all the products we do put out and all of the new features that we do put out are in the best state that they can be. But on top of that, it's helping some of the customer-facing guys with queries that their customers have. They have very specific reports and use cases that Syft is definitely able to fill the gap with, but it's making that work in the most seamless and most efficient way. And that's where a lot of my experience early on at Syft was dealing with what we had called implementation, which was helping with the more boutique solutions and kind of setting customers up with those more complicated reports that, while Syft is a great turnkey solution, there are some things that require a bit of work. And that helped me understand how people actually use Syft and what Syft did very well and some things we could improve. So it's this nice blend of working with the design team, looking at quality assurance and testing, but then also a lot of customer interaction and working on that side. So really across quite a few different teams, which I really enjoy.
And maybe on that, so you're working with lots of different teams, from sales to engineers developing things and designers, like different, you know, skill sets. How do you collaborate with these other departments to deliver that final product?
Yeah. So as I said, it is something that in this role you are exposed to a lot of it, and because it's all about knowing the product, seeing what our customers want from the product, and then making that happen. So naturally, I'm dealing a lot, or me and my fellow product engineers, we're dealing a lot with the customer team and seeing, okay, what are they experiencing with their customers this week, chatting with them, making sure we're keeping our finger on the pulse of their experiences and the feedback they give to us. And that's super important because we obviously need to be fitting a use case for people in the real world. And then once we have that kind of insight, it's then taking it to the design and the actual developers and seeing what's the feasibility, how does this make sense, is it going to fit into our product roadmap, which obviously there are 1,000,001 demands from everyone, and we're always trying to do our best to make sure that we are meeting those demands in a way that would appeal to as many people as possible. So it's a really nice balancing act of constantly getting feedback, constantly helping the customer-facing teams, but then also working with the developers and the designers to see how can we take all of these requests and make them packaged into a tool that will help as many people as possible.
No, amazing. And I think as you're speaking, I'm thinking as an accountant, a lot of the things you're talking about, they're very relevant to building software, right? To building a product. But as a business owner or an accountant, you also have a product, right? You also need to build a service offering, or maybe a cupcake company like our demo company, right? And a lot of the things you're saying resonate with me. You need to be speaking to customers and seeing what they're doing. You probably also have to leverage off different teams like marketing or whatever. So a lot of the skills you're learning aren't specific, or you're speaking about aren't specific to, you know, just that one building software. So hopefully a lot of our listeners can get some good tips on how to do that. And then I suppose, I suppose I kind of just touched on that, but what is your sense as to why, you know, our listeners should, you know, kind of benefit from learning a bit about how we do things?
I think hopefully it will just give a little bit of insight as to when we do things, why exactly do we do them? Why do we pursue the features and kind of new releases that we do? And it's all because, again, it's a constant balancing act, and we're just doing our best to provide a tool that meets the needs of as many people as possible. At the end of the day, I always think about, okay, what are the apps that I use on a day-to-day basis? What are the products that I'm regularly using? when they release a new feature, why are they releasing that? It must appeal to some people. Not everything is going to be the perfect fit for everybody, but because Syft's got such a vast tool set, I feel like we do a pretty good job of providing really great tools for as many people as possible. So,
No, I think, and again, the accountant is just coming out here. It's the cost benefit, right? It's obviously we would love to build everything, but what's going to be the best for the most customers? And again, if you're making cupcakes, you can't make your favorite flavor. You have to make the customer's favorite flavor. So I'm really good. And then just before we maybe move on from what you do as a product engineer, what is your favorite thing to do as part of your job?
it's either the design work that I don't get too involved with, but I find it's a really nice creative outlet for taking the insights and all of the experience I've gained through Syft and putting that into some of the new and exciting features and giving my opinion on why I think we should do X, Y, Z, but also just interacting with customers. It's always so great to see what are they dealing with, how are they finding Syft, where can we improve. So it's a really nice balance of those two things. And again, they work really nicely together. It's talking with our users and customers, seeing what they like, what they don't like, and then using that experience in the design and kind of building the roadmap going forward. But definitely talking to customers. I mean, it's such a great opportunity, and especially Syft having a pretty global customer base. Like being able to 1 minute talking with an SME from South Africa, and then the next minute you're jumping on a call with someone from an accounting firm in America. It's just really exciting as someone who's always been interested in accounting and business to be dealing with so many different worlds and getting so much insight from so many people across different cultures, industries, experience levels. It's really, really awesome.
No, it's definitely a great place to be. And I think, let's quickly touch on the fact that you transitioned from data science to product engineer. Now, product engineer at Syft doesn't specifically have like a qualification we look for because it's such a varied role. But it's something that Alex, the other co-host, and I talk about often about transitional skills, right? So you didn't study product engineering. And so when you joined, what were some of the gaps in your knowledge, if any? And what did you do to kind of overcome that? Because I think that's useful for others who maybe study something traditional or whatever and fill all these changing roles, that are coming up with technology.
Yeah, so I think especially being someone who came fresh out of university and Syft being my first job, a lot of those skills are the typical things you would expect, kind of just knowing how to actually conduct yourself in a workplace. Obviously, there are some very simple things that you should and shouldn't do, but it's knowing how to be the best colleague, the best worker, and just being able to do your job in the most efficient way possible. And obviously, it's all of those things that you wouldn't necessarily learn throughout school and throughout university. And It's kind of, I'm not sure if I'm going to get it wrong if it's the soft or the hard skills. I can't remember which one it is.
One of them.
Yeah, but it's one of the two. But it's those things you don't learn, those things that no one is necessarily going to teach you. Being proficient in Excel, that was one thing that I think anyone going into the workplace should definitely skill up on. I really don't think it's a tool that's going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
So that was a big one, getting very good at Excel, especially being in a finance adjacent role. Very, very helpful. I would say definitely do an Excel course, which was one of the things I did.
And there's one on Syft Campus if anyone would like
Exactly.
to look at that.
That's where I was going with this. I was going to
Cool,
say Syft Campus is a great place to get you ready for, if you're fresh out of university and you need to get ready. We've got some great courses on that. But it really was, for the most part, stepping into this role. There was obviously a lot of technical stuff. More of that was learning Syft as a business and what the tool did. So that is quite unique to this specific job, but that was an obvious gap where I had to get upskilled on what exactly the tool did so that I could help build the future of it as quickly as possible. But yeah, it's all of those professionalism, emails and being good at those and being able to balance all those things. I mean, Google Meets and video calls, that's something that especially kind of, as someone who wasn't in the working world in 2020, post 2020, I feel like it's become a lot more prevalent, and especially in the tech industry, like I've gotten very comfortable with being able to jump on a call with someone halfway across the world. That's not something you learn in university. So things like that.
So a lot of those softer skills, I think, are coming out there. And I think another thing, which it sounds like what you're saying, is just, jump into as many different things as you can. And especially when you're fresh out of university, what I always say is like do as much and say yes to as much as you can, because everything more you do, even if you work a little bit harder, is more learning.
Exactly.
And so, instead of having 1 year's worth of experience at the end, you could have a little bit more because you actually worked a little bit extra, which is powerful. Yeah,
I mean, the more opportunities you kind of grab with two hands, the better off you're going to be.
Cool. So another question. So what have you learned about the importance of collaborating in delivering a product? Sounds like one of those soft skills that you've hopefully learned.
And again, going back to how my role helps me to be across a lot of different teams, I think being able to coordinate and make sure that you're all on the same page and that you're all working towards the same goal, that is ultimately what collaboration is so important for. And just making sure that you're managing all expectations, you're making sure everybody is heard. You want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable to give their ideas and to contribute to actually collaborating, whether it is someone who's customer facing, who's got a lot of great ideas that they're getting from the users. You don't want them to feel like that their ideas aren't going to go anywhere because they aren't seeing any tangible feedback from that regard. So just making sure that you're able to communicate, you're able to sift through all of the details and kind of get to the bottom line of this is why this is a good idea, this is why it's not a good idea, and just making sure everyone feels comfortable to actually share ideas. I think in the product engineering role, that's very relevant to me, and making sure that all ideas are great ideas and let's see how we can best meet all of those ideas.
Agreed. I think that's also an important management skill because you want to be approachable, but you can't always give everyone with what they want. So important to handle. Cool. So how do you see the future of product engineering evolving, especially with the rise of AI and automation?
I mean, AI is always such an interesting point nowadays, and it is quite an interesting sphere to be in because it does require a lot of human interaction and kind of coming up with creative ideas, which obviously AI does a lot of things really well. I like to kind of limit it to the more menial and repetitive tasks like note-taking and summarizing meetings. Completely off the point of actual professional work, but as someone who's very passionate about movies and creative things, like seeing AI and how it's affecting those kinds of industries, like I feel like it's very easy to try apply a patch job, AI can fix everything, solution to anything, but I feel like it is really useful for making processes that no one really wants to do a lot more efficient and helping us save time on those tasks that aren't actually contributing to the core work that you'd be doing in a day-to-day job.
For sure.
So I think just helping speed up meetings, especially in product engineering, you need to be getting a lot of feedback, just helping you concise and summarize all of those viewpoints. But then also, when it comes to testing and QA, I think it's got a lot of potential in that regard to kind of speed up a lot of processes to make sure that you are delivering the best product possible. And that's another space where it makes sense to maybe cut down on the human interaction and see where the computers can kind of take over and automate some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same thing we also tell accounting practices is it's there to help you, my view at least, is it's there to help you automate those repetitive tasks and kind of even speed up the ones that aren't so repetitive, but that you can kind of, for example, get a summary of how well the business is done or a summary of what the client said. Yeah. And then instead of trying to make minutes like I used to do in my first year, you can go and actually action it or think about it or improve it or build a better product or advise your client. So it's kind of a similar principle there, which is very cool. Okay, so are there any emerging technologies or trends in the accounting software industry that you are excited about?
I mean, I think at the moment, seeing how AI is going to play out in accounting software, because there's a lot of potential for it to, I think, help accountants with a lot of the software. So seeing where that goes, I know something that I always think of, and it's a question that I've seen floated around quite a bit lately, is AI a product or a feature? I think it's starting to get to the point where a lot of people are realizing it's a feature. So then just seeing how each of the accounting softwares are making use of that feature and seeing how we can help accountants cut down on time, streamline processes that while human interaction is probably needed, it's going to save a human some time where they can go do something a bit more valuable, provide more insight to their clients. So yeah, again, AI, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So just seeing where it develops and how it helps the industry, I think is going to be really interesting.
For sure. It is, stay on top of it. So I think my last question, maybe my second one, we'll see about time, is what advice would you give someone who's interested in switching careers or actually just starting out in the career? You're pretty new still. I think it feels like long, but still pretty fresh. So someone who's studying or looking for a career, what would you give them advice on?
I think the biggest point of advice I would give is it's very easy as someone who is joining the workforce, and obviously it is such a difficult thing to get on your feet and get going, but it's very easy to, I wouldn't say fall into the trap, but to go with the safe options, to go with those job applications in the big firms that everybody's heard of or the big companies that you're going to feel safe. And not to say those aren't amazing opportunities, because they really are, but when I got my position at Syft, I was, in my mind, taking a chance on a company I'd never heard of. And until I looked into the company and saw what they were doing and saw that they were providing this amazing product as a South African grown company, which South Africans were very passionate about anything South African. So
100%.
It was a great opportunity that made me realize, like, I hadn't heard about this company before I've learned about the opportunity, but it is something that sometimes when you take that big leap into something that's not a bank that everybody has heard of and everybody would love to work at. And it's worked out really nicely. I really like the work I do here. It's a great environment around the office, and I think we do really great work for a lot of people around the world. So always, while those safe options and all the options that your friends or your classmates might be applying for, they're very appealing, but sometimes taking that leap and going with a startup or a really exciting new business can really pay out and just be the best decision for you personally.
No, I think that's really good advice. It's often seems safe to take the traditional route, but I think it works out pretty well for you. So we are going to do some rapid fire questions now quickly, like we do at the end of podcasts. Before I do that, I just want to say thank you for coming. I think I learned a lot. I hope that everyone else did. A little bit of a slightly different episode, but data science is very topical and lots for accountants and business owners to learn. So question 1, what one piece of software besides Syft can you not live without?
So that would probably be Spotify, because I am an avid music listener. I almost like to joke it's my second job. I actually have an app that goes with Spotify that tracks every single song I listen to, and it's basically Syft for music, so I wouldn't be able to live if I couldn't listen to music every day.
Okay, cool. That is good to know. What's the best book you've read recently?
That would probably be Shoe Dog, which is the biography by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. So I think it was a really well-written biography that, just from a storytelling perspective, as someone who enjoys fiction and non-fiction, really well written. It grabs you in the stories he's telling, whether that's how when he was younger he traveled through Asia for a couple of years before he ever joined the working force, but then also the stories he tells from when he started Nike and all of the perspectives you can glean, whether you are a massive business like Nike was towards the end of the book, or when he was a small business starting out when it was still blue ribbon shoes, and all of the struggles he went through and all of those small business struggles. It is just a really great book with great storytelling, great business advice, and I honestly would recommend it to anyone. I think I finished like half of it in the first night when I started, so fantastic book.
I think we need to have you on for a business book review, but yeah, we'll have to go check that one out. What's the most valued lesson you've learned about building a business?
I would say, I think one thing that I've learned about that would just be the people that you have around you, just building the right team. I think it's gone a really long way in Syft as a business. The vibes around the office and how we all collaborate makes things a lot easier, and that's just choosing the right people for each job, but outside of them doing their job well, making sure that they are well-rounded, that everybody can socialize. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I think it's been done very well here, and it makes you realize the power of collaboration and just getting along with everyone, which is not the easiest thing in the world, but I think it's gone a really far.
Cool, man. No, definitely people are very important. If there's one thing you want listeners to take away from today's podcast, what would that be?
From my perspective, as I said, new university graduate joining the working world, I think my biggest takeaway would be take that extra step, take that leap of faith in maybe that smaller company or that job application that looks great on paper, but maybe you need a bit more research into the company. You never know when it might be one of the best places you'll ever land and a perfect fit for you personally. I think that would be my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was awesome. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Insights podcast.
Please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to right now.
And please share with any of your colleagues or friends or family members that you think might benefit from listening to this podcast.
That's all from us. Until next time, see you then.